I've seen things you people wouldn't believe.
Get a load of this guy. Seeing things I wouldn't believe. I just saw someone off of 64th and 3rd at the local 7-11 jack off his pingus into a plastic bag. And he held up the bag and you know what he said? He said, "Look, my children in a bag. Sir, your children are dead. And you want to know why your children are fucking dead? It's because of the fucking microplastics in that 7-Eleven bag."
Right.
Huh? The government won't tell you that one, but I will. I'll tell you the fucking truth right now. Getting ahead of myself here, Roy Batty, you fucking Nexus looking ass, fucking robot looking ass. I'm a Blade Runner, by the way. I'm gonna retire you. By the way.
I watched sea-beams
What
glitter in
the
the
fuck
dark.
is a C-beam? First of all, let me tell you something that glitters. Even at night when there's no light around. The fecal matter of the fucking rats in this goddamn city. New York City is home to mutant fucking rats. And I'm not talking about Master Splinter from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, because he's sick. He's cool. He's ill. I'm talking about the fucking four-legged pieces of shit running around the city. Shitting like it's nobody's business. And then saying, "Look, here's my shit." These rats, the mutants, I'll tell you that much right now.
All those moments will be lost in time. Like tears in rain.
Roy, you better shut your mouth. Keep on fucking talking. You're gonna lose something in the rain. Tell you that much right now.
I miss this site. In the first days after changing into this shell, the shakes were so bad I couldn't come out here.
Nobody Wants to Die, I think, is a cool game. It really feels like if the creators of Altered Carbon talked with Ridley Scott and they asked him, "Excuse me, Mr. Ridley. Right, so if I were you, how would I make, stuff like Altered Carbon more like Blade Runner?" And then Ridley Scott was like, "Listen, I love the idea. Let's talk about it. Let's workshop this." They both finished up their idea. They finished talking about it. They went over to CD Projekt Red and they were like, "Yo, can we cyberpunkify this shit, by the way? Minus all the controversy and bugs, of course." And they, you kind of get this game that incorporates a lot of the different concepts and themes that Blade Runner, Cyberpunk 2077, and Altered Carbon sort of tackle, such as like uploading your consciousness into the net and then uploading your consciousness into a different body. I like the themes and the concepts that the game tackles. The game also does a really good job at fleshing out the world visually and in terms of audio as well. They really dialed in the way they wanted the game to look, because if you look around, it's this densely packed city filled to the brim with all sorts of like little fucking shit here and there. You got a bunch of cars just flying around. You got like a bunch of AIs just interacting with, I say interacting with each other, they're more like just walking around and bumping into each other. And it looks really good. Like it looks like a proper Blade Runner-esque type of world. And they've managed to sort of really translate that quite well into a video game. Obviously, you don't get the same freedom as you do in Cyberpunk 2077 to roam around in the city, but at least you get a look and a taste. It is unfortunate, I will say, because what I wouldn't give to like roam around in a world like that, just to go into all the different buildings that are just there, and then all the flying cars as well. It just looks really sick. I love it. Gameplay wise, I think when you first play the game, it's cool. You get Batman-esque gadgets in the game where you can sort of replay an incident of a crime scene. The gameplay mechanics are interesting. Like you have the abilities to sort of rewind time. You have the abilities to sort of pause at a certain moment in the investigation mode, so to speak, when you're looking at different incidents and accidents and stuff like that, the murder scene and whatnot. You get to pause and be like, "Oh, there's like a little clue here. Let's go take a look at this." And that's all at like with first impressions. When you go further into the game, it sort of gets repetitive and kind of boring in the sense that it just really holds your hand to quite a high degree. I think the game is really more or less trying to sell you on the world that it's made, and I will frankly tell you again that it's just like a really good, fleshed out, visually striking world. The story is interesting. It pulled me in enough to the point where I got somewhat invested into the story and into the protagonist, and because there's only really two main characters that the game sort of talks about, or that the game sort of covers. It's really just you, the detective, and your partner. So it's just two people really. I mean, you talk to the head of the police department every now and again, but he's not a very active character. Like he has a few lines, but you, the protagonist, and your partner have way more lines than the head of the police department. Yeah, I mean, the story's good. It's not terrible, but it's also not the best. It's okay. A lot of the exposition comes from monologuing and dialogue between the protagonist, you the player, and their partner. The protagonist does fall quite hard into, a lot of those LA noir sort of detective tropes, like it was a deep, like you have a cigar in your right hand, you're like, it was a dark and rainy Saturday night. The rain fell on my jacket in the same way that crime fell on the city, whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's a lot, like, they have a lot of those tropes in there. I enjoy it. I think it's, like, fun. Some people might not like it. I think it's fun. I think it's a fun sort of trope to dive into, and I think it's cool. So whether or not you like that trope, that might not be for you, but I think it's a fun little thing to dive into. And then the dialogue isn't bad as well between the protagonist and his partner. Nothing feels daunting to like get into when they bring it up in context, like between the detective and his partner. None of it feels also like sold short. It just feels like the right amount of information is being told at any given moment between the detective and his partner, and also when the detective is having a monologue with himself. And then there's also a point in the game where you talk to a psychologist, because transferring your consciousness has like really heavy and not good implications for the psychological well-being of the inhabitants of this world. You talk to a psychologist and you sort of find out more about yourself as the detective, and you also find out more about the past and the people who were important to the detective as well. And I find that also interesting. So kind of to sum up, the way Nobody Wants to Die feels to me, it's a decent game that I don't think is overbearing in its presentation, at least in terms of like what it's trying to give the player. It knows what it wanted to do, I feel like, which is just provide a visually striking world set in a cyberpunk setting and tackle similar concepts and themes that have already existed in those settings, such as the idea of human consciousness, the idea of living forever via technology and stuff like that. And I think it does that well. The parts that it doesn't do well in, such as gameplay and to a lesser degree story, it's not bad, but it's also not great. So I would maybe recommend getting the game when it goes for a small sale. That's it for the video, much shorter one this time around. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you want more of this content, feel free to subscribe to it. Hit the notification icon, hit the bell when you do subscribe, and like the video if you want to, or don't. Dislike it, in fact, that's okay as well. And don't subscribe if you don't want to, that's also okay. I live stream on this channel, so if you want to catch my live streams, currently live streaming Control from the Remedy Connected Universe. And I'm also live streaming some other staple games like Halo Infinite, Zenless Zone Zero, I almost forgot. And I would like to start streaming The Hunt Showdown 1896, or whatever the fuck it's called now. I think that's a cool game to try out, and I'm thinking about just streaming The Division 2, but we'll see. So I'm streaming all those games. Feel free to hop in, say hello, and whatnot. And yeah, I'll catch you guys on the next one. See ya!